Welcome back to Surviving the Flame. Before we jump into today's conversation, here's a quick preview of the moments you definitely don't want to miss. You cannot be a good leader if you're not a good person, because it's you being phony. That's not we don't want to be around those type of people. We want to be around people who are genuine and authentic. And even if you mess up a bit in the beginning, at least you're honest. You know what I'm saying? And at least like you're showing people that side of you that is human. That's what people need to see. They don't need to see picture perfect perfection. No, we need to see that, our future our present has flaws. We messed up in the past, but that doesn't define where we're going in the future.
For weeks, I was broken. I was driving to church to preach, and I was not into it. Like, for the first time, and I'm pretty sure many times it happened again, where my personal life entered the church with me. And like my whole mood was off. It was to the point where I had to ask my wife, I said, yo, you think something's wrong with me? Like, I'm broken. Like, I think I'm broken from what happened. And it bothered me for weeks. It wasn't until we had a long conversation on a Saturday afternoon and we finally got out all the information that I finally was able to be my regular self again. But man, I had an attitude all over this place. The first piece of advice I would say that I wish someone told me is that being a father doesn't stop at 18. It doesn't stop at 18.
All right, family, welcome back to another episode of Surviving the Flame. If you enjoyed that preview, go ahead and hit that subscribe button on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts so we can keep this flame burning together. Now, let's get into today's conversation. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages and stages, and even the ones making minimum wages, welcome back to another episode of Surviving the Flame, where we have lit conversations with ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And today, my guest is truly, honestly, no different. Ladies and gentlemen, gather around close to the fire. And once again, as we welcome a great mind, a father, a mentor, a man of God, a man of faith, an author, someone who is truly after God's heart, but also willing to bring a crowd of people behind him. This man has been a leader of many, you know what I'm saying? And I believe that today, as we dive into his story, we're going to be able to learn a lot of great things about him, about his journey, about where he's from, how he's survived the heat from from his upbringing to being the man that he is today. So I'm very, very excited to get into this conversation. So ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know already, you're about to find out. So go ahead, get somewhere comfortable, pop up your feet, turn up the volume just a little bit, but not too much, or you'll burn your ears. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the SCF Experience, Pastor James Thomas. Sir, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm blessed, man. I can't complain, There's a lot of things to complain about, but it's just a waste of time.
I got you. So before we get into everything, real quick, put your city and your state on the map, man. Where you from?
Most definitely. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, Coney Island to be exact. Born and raised there all my life. That's all I knew for a long period of time, man.
That's awesome. That's all. And where are you located right now?
Well, right now I'm in the Richmond, Virginia area.
Awesome.
Moved down after I decided to go to school and then wanted to get married, and I wound up moving down to Virginia. So I'm out here in Virginia, locked up.
I got you. So we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna dive straight in. You know what I'm saying? First question I have for you, Pastor Thomas. Before the titles, before the ministry, before all of that, who was James Thomas growing up? What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, man. Listen, That's an awesome place to start, obviously, because before we get a title, before we get a name, we're just a regular kid. I was born, 79. Lived in Coney Island, right across the street from the water. I was a church kid. My mom and dad, they both went to church, but obviously stopped when they got a little older. And pretty much I was just a rambunctious kid. And before there was ADHD, it was James.
Mm,
Why is that? Oh, that's just James being James.
I feel you.
But before we had a title or anything, it was just James.
Yeah.
I was very inquisitive. I wanted to know why I had to do everything, and if I had to do something, and there's other people here, why is it that they don't have to do it instead I have to?
Mm,
As you can tell already, based on this little bit of conversation, I got beat all the time, every Sunday afternoon, every Sunday night. My
yeah.
pops had a thing where he would line us all up, tell us what we
Mm.
did throughout the week, and pretty much after
Wow.
that it was stand up, put your pants down.
No.
We got work.
Oh man.
Believe
Oh
me, I
man.
got a lot of work. But growing up as a kid, it was fun. I can honestly say that, in a place where a lot of people didn't have a father, didn't have healthy homes. I had a mother and a father that cared about me, that loved me. I have a younger brother. I have two older brothers. They made sure that I was good, that I was taken care of, that I didn't play myself or look crazy out in the streets. And one thing that I can really remember right now as I'm talking to you, my mom always made sure that she drilled in our head that when we left the house, you're no longer James Thomas.
Mm,
You're your mother and your father. You're Vicente, you're James Thomas
mm.
Jr. So don't make people think that I ain't raised you.
Oof.
So, and then of course, Big Coney Island being a small neighborhood, a block that probably carries about maybe 20, 25, 30 blocks.
Mm.
Three avenues: Surf Avenue, Mermaid, Neptune. As you can tell, we all got the ocean gods: Mermaid, Neptune, Surf, and
Yeah.
everybody knew everybody.
Mm.
Everybody knew everybody. So if you rode the bus and you was in the wrong place at the wrong time, they was gonna find out about it.
Oof.
If you opened your mouth and you said something that you wasn't supposed to say, believe me, they're gonna find out about it.
Mm.
If you was in a place where you wasn't supposed to be and you knew full well that you wasn't supposed to be there, and your mother knew that she told you not to be there, believe me, somebody was gonna find you. They was gonna notify them. Not
Oh
only was you gonna get in
man.
trouble, but you're gonna get in trouble about everybody that saw you. So we were a very small knit community. If you got in fight with somebody on 23rd Street, please believe if you lived on 37th Street or 38th Street, you're gonna have to see them again.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh.
it wasn't like you get into a fight and you run away, but you get into a fight, you live in the same area, you're gonna be at a park where everybody's playing basketball, they're gonna see you. If
For
you at a
sure.
basketball, if you playing football or something like that, they're gonna see you. You go to the beach, they're gonna see you. If you go to
No
Coney
escape.
Island and you ride the rides, they're gonna. So we're a small knit community. There's one
Mm.
way in, one way out. We didn't like a lot of outsiders coming into our neighborhood, but yeah, man, it was what I think I needed in terms of my growing up. It was perfect for me. I got to learn a lot about how to live as a Christian and how to
Mm.
live in the street all at the same time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. If you
Yeah.
don't mind me asking, what exactly was your dream growing up? Like from, I know a lot of kids, especially, you have like, like the young days, when you're like 5 to 10, and then
Mhm.
you have the 10 to 15, like it kind of like breaks up in a bit. But like, if you could say, like for the major like time as a young adult or like as a child, like what would you say your ultimate dream was?
You probably gonna laugh at me when I say this.
Nah, nah, ain't no way.
I wanted to be a bus driver.
No way, really?
I told you.
No, I wasn't expecting that one. I wasn't expecting that one.
You know what it is? It's because my parents did not allow us to go anywhere. We
Mm,
couldn't sleep over at somebody's house, and we couldn't spend the night at different family members' houses. We pretty much wherever we went, we had to come back home. So you got to think about it. Living in New York, you don't have a car because there's
right.
mass transit everywhere. So whenever you needed to go somewhere or do something, you literally just hop on the bus or the train and you get to wherever it is you got to go. And when I started taking the bus for the first time by myself to go to school, I was like, this is the coolest job in the world. I get to sit
For
and
sure.
drive people around to different places and like actually get to see new people every day. I get
Mm,
to determine who gets on my bus. Like it was something I really, really, really wanted to do. And then there was a bus driver who I looked up to, who I thought was super cool. He had
Yeah.
dreads. He didn't wear his uniform the right way. He looked like he was on the street. He was like a real cool dude, and like I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be that guy on the bus. And
Got it.
obviously, when I realized that bus drivers you don't make that much money, I wound up switching careers. And I was really good with my
Man.
hands, like putting things together. I would take speakers apart. I would
Mm.
take things apart or whatever, radios apart, and put them back together. And my mom and my dad thought that I would be good as an airplane mechanic. So once
Ooh.
they put that bug in my ear, I was like, "Oh man, I can't wait! I'm gonna build planes, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna see my plane fly over and be like, I built that plane."
for
And
sure.
that's pretty much what I got into. So that was like my the two careers I've always wanted to be: bus driver, airplane mechanic.
And I feel like a lot of people, kids especially, like I feel like, it's those type of dreams that kind of like tell us a lot about ourselves, especially as we
Hmm.
go older. Like you said, Coney Island is a tight knit community. It's
Hmm.
very personal. It's very, you know this person. Hey, bro, I know your mom. I know your dad. Like you,
Right.
it's very family oriented. So I can understand how someone who, has rode the bus and things like that, rode public transportation and things like that. Like and I'm pretty sure the bus driver pretty much knew everybody that got on the bus too.
Hmm.
So it's just like the environment that you grew up in, it kind of shapes your morals, your principles. It kind of molds you into the person that you are,
Right.
to stand on certain things that you're not willing to go against, but like that also, make you a positive person in society, especially if you grow up in a neighborhood or a community rather that is very like you guys are all about each other.
Right.
Even though you may kind of like family, you may fight here and there, you may argue here and there, but at
Yep.
the end of the day, it's like you from my block, like you really like my brother, you really like my sister, like I look after you, such and such and such.
Yes.
But speaking of shaping things, I really want to like how like do you have a moment within your childhood specifically that you feel like had shaped your faith or shaped like even if it's a person,
Hmm.
like whether it's a family member or something like that, but is there a defining moment or a person or a relationship that's in your life that shaped your faith as a child?
Definitely. Mineola Thomas. They called her Minnie.
Hmm.
I called her Grandma. My
Mm,
grandmother taught me how to pray. We would go to her house, and there was three things I knew I was going to get. I knew I was going to get good food.
mm,
I knew I was going to get a Halls for
mm,
candy because she didn't play around with the candy. And I knew I was going to get a daily bread. I don't know if you remember
mm,
back in the day, but daily bread used to come in like these small little books. And my
mm,
grandmother had like a million of them. And she would give these things to me or whatever, and just to say, take that home and you read that and you
yeah.
learn what it is about, who God is and whatnot. And she taught me how to pray. She believed in me. She died when I was very young. I was about 12 or 13 when
Oh
my
man.
grandmother passed away. But from what I heard, history has it that when I was born, she told my mother and my father that I was going to be a preacher.
Wow.
Now, she never, of course, said that to me, and of course, my parents never said that to me until I was a lot older.
Mm,
But I can, looking back at my life, I can see the steps that she was doing to prepare me to be a preacher. Like she taught me how to pray. She taught me how to understand the Bible. She taught me how to, make sure that I pay close attention to how the world responds to people who love the Lord. She taught me about the Bible in terms of how to read it and what to read and where to go to and stuff like that. And like I said, our time was very short, but it was the moments were so huge in my life that I can remember that.
that's awesome. That is truly phenomenal, man. I know. I relate to you there. My grandmother is the
Hmm.
exact same way. She truly has a heart of gold, and it sounds like they share a lot of similarities. My grandmother, I know as I was growing up, man, my grandmother was probably the first like I know like philanthropists are people who like give money and things like
Hmm.
that to charity communities and things like that. But no, like I feel like my grandmother was a I feel like she was a philanthropist in a different way. Like I've
Hmm.
never seen someone openly have their heart out just for everybody.
Yeah.
And the respect that I really want to say she demanded, but it was like people really just truly respected her just for the type of person that she was and is
Hmm.
and the type of the energy that she brings with her. Like it's They sound like they are very, 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 very similar. But I like making a quick transition real quick.
Hmm.
Today, man, you wear many, many hats. You're a father, a pastor, a mentor, a leader. How do you manage all of that weight and still still don't lose sight of who you are? All right, guys, taking a quick break here. I just want to let you guys know, if you haven't already, please make your way over to that like button, click it, leave a comment, let us know how you feel, and also subscribe to the channel so we can continue to keep getting out more positive content to those who need it in their dark times. As always, spread kindness, and let's keep this flame lit. Back at it.
That's a great question because that was something I struggled with before I even got into this. Before I
Mm,
even got into ministry, I knew that I didn't want to do this. I knew I didn't want to be a pastor. I was okay with singing. I was okay with writing music. I was okay with doing praise and worship or whatever. I had a group called Evidence of Grace. I wrote the songs for them. We had about 13 songs that we had that I wrote, that I put together, that, we were busy singing around the world, not around the world, but around our city with. Knew that that was going to be what saved me, if that makes any sense.
absolutely.
It wasn't until I got into a situation, and I guess we'll talk about it later, that kind of forced me to switch my vision and my mindset. The first thing I can say to anybody who's trying to get into ministry, who wants to do ministry like what you just described of me, which is hard for me to even say because I still fully haven't grasped all the titles and hats that I wear, is I learned how to compartmentalize. That to me, if I don't put things in a box in terms of my life, I won't have a life. If I continue to work myself to the bone for even something that I love, that's a passion, but yet I don't have time to go out and look at the sun, or
Mm,
spend some time with my girls, or talk to my boys or whatever, or hang out with my friends, then I'm not really being who I really want to be. And then what will take place is the frustration with what you love,
right.
because your love will then turn into a disease.
Mm,
It will turn into something that you abhor, that you hate, that, God, I got to do this again.
yeah.
When you don't learn how to compartmentalize and say, listen, when I'm at my church, I give 100% to my church, my members, my leaders, all my elders, whoever needs a visitation, a ministry, whatever needs to be done, I give 100% to that. When I do Wednesday night prayer meeting, I give 1,000% to that. I'm committed to that hour. I'm committed to that ministry, that mode at that time. When I do ABC, which is our adult Bible class, I'm committed to that time frame and I'm giving my 100% to that time frame. But when that time is up, I'm James again.
Mm,
I'm James again. I'm back to what we talked about earlier. Just that kid that grew up in Coney Island.
for sure.
I'm
For
just
sure.
him. And I don't have any titles. My girls come in here, we play around, we joke, we dance, we laugh, we watch videos, we listen to music. I play video games. I got an Xbox. You know what I mean? My sons play video games up in New York. Like, I watch Marvel movies. I make sure that I make time for who I am, because what I said earlier, your love or your passion will turn into the thing you most hate.
That is powerful. That is powerful, especially you mentioned that switch. A lot of people don't have that. A lot of people
Mm-hmm.
don't have the I'm gonna just say maturity, for lack of better words. A lot of people don't have the
Mm-hmm.
self-awareness or maturity to be able to turn that switch on and off. It's like something that I've been saying a lot today, and I feel like it
Mm-hmm.
relates here, is that we grow so accustomed to being able to like living that life in public,
Mm-hmm.
that is filled with smiles and this and that and whatever capacity that is, that when it comes to our private lives, when it comes to our spouse, our siblings, our parents, our children, our family, like the people who are trying to pour into you while you're pouring into other people, we
Mm-hmm.
tend to neglect them when all we see is who we're pouring into and not recognizing who's pouring into us, or how much we're actually keeping to ourselves to be able to
Right.
pour into ourselves. And that's how burnout happens. That's
Mm-hmm.
how, crash outs and depression and all of this other stuff starts to
Right.
brew up and starts to take over, is because we've given so much of ourselves, there's nothing left. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Go ahead.
And no, I was gonna say, not to cut you off, but
No,
some people feel like they have to live in that moment because that's all they got.
That's
Like some
so
people
true.
feel like they have to be on. I have a lot of preacher friends, and I'll call them, "Hey, pastor, how you doing there, doc?
Yeah.
Getting ready for church." But I'm like, dude, I'm just asking you if you want to go to the movies today. Like, did you see the game last night? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a
Yeah.
Bulls fan. Did you watch? Like, the Bulls got a nice little,
Let's go
you know,
Bulls.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, doc, but the Lord's coming." I know he is, but he ain't coming today. Like, can we talk about something other than the Bible? Like, I get it. For some people, and I'm being facetious, but I mean, honestly speaking, like a lot of people, they live in what it is that they do so much because they want that to be what people see or recognize them for. And they're
Yeah.
scared of themselves.
Mm.
They're scared of what it is that they can actually be if they don't have the title. I know some people that did that strive to that worked so hard to become a pastor that now that they're a pastor, they don't want to be called elder. Don't call me elder. I'm pastor so and so. Hey
Hmm.
doc, a pastor is an elder, like a servant. Like that's what you
Yeah.
are. Like we should be calling you servant, not pastor. Some people, when they get those titles, they want to remain in those titles. They want to live in those titles. They want their kids to recognize them that way. They want their wife or their spouse to recognize them that way. And that only brings about person or the people around you to hate what you do.
Yeah.
Because now what people forget is that your first church is your home.
Right.
Your
Oof.
first church is not your address where you were assigned to. Your first your first church, your first pulpit, your first community of believers, your first parishioners, whatever you want to call them, is
Hmm.
the people you go to sleep with every night.
Yep.
And if they don't like what you do, then how can you save a world of people?
Mm.
If your family doesn't even listen to you because they hate what you do, then how can you turn around and save the world? And that's what I'm strong on. I'm like, listen, it makes no sense to me to save all of these people and my family don't go. I'm working so hard to make sure that everybody's family is tight, together, reconciliation is happening, growth is happening, spiritual development is happening, gifts are being developed, people are learning who God is, people are setting themselves up to be saved by the Lord, and they're all going. And then
Yeah.
I come home and my wife hates me. My kids are mad at me because I missed another recital because I was at some church function. My sons are trying to figure out where am I because I'm never on the phone with them because I'm talking to other people who I think need me more than they do. And now I'm trying to pitch them this idea of going to church. They don't want to go because they don't like what their father does.
Mm.
Oh, let's go to heaven. I don't want to go there
Oh
because if
man.
that's what you're talking about, then I'm never going to see you no way. So I might as well go do what I want to do. And you find that to be the literal center of why a lot of people, especially kids, PK kids, are
Mhm.
rebellious against their family, rebellious against the pastor of the home, whether it be a mom or a dad, because they felt they were locked in to what it is you wanted to do. And you never exposed yourself to just being a father or a
Mm.
mother.
Mm. That is phenomenal, phenomenal answer. Powerful. Like you can definitely tell, the passion in which you lead just based off of the devotion that you have to the people that you're leading in the big picture. The big picture and all of the intricate key pieces to it is not
Hmm.
just it's not just about who you are on the stage or on in the pulpit. It's
Right,
about who you are at home.
right.
If you are, dang, somebody says this to me the other day. As you know, I was listening to a friend of mine. Her name is Abigail, and she has a podcast. And she said, I actually had her on the podcast a few episodes ago, but she told me she was like, you can't be a good trainer if you're not a good person. I feel like
Mm,
the same thing goes if you
yeah.
are in any leadership position. You
Hmm.
cannot be a good leader if you're not a good person
Right.
because it's you being phony.
Yeah.
That's not we don't want to be around those type of people. We want to
Hmm.
be around people who are genuine and authentic. And even if you mess up a bit in the beginning, at least you're honest. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And at least like you're showing people that side of you that is
Hmm.
human. That's what people need to see. They don't need to see picture perfect perfection. No, we
Yes.
need to see that, our future I mean like our present has flaws. We messed
Hmm.
up in the past, but that doesn't define where we're going in the future. We still have ambitions and we still have goals to try and be, what God has called us to be. We
Right.
still want to be the good dad, the good mom, the mentor that other mentees can look up to. We still want to be that, but
Right.
at home and behind closed doors, I'm still trying to work on myself. I'm still progressively working on myself and things like
Exactly.
that. Like it's not just when you're in the limelight. No,
Right.
how you are when the lights go off, that's who you really are.
That's the true
Not when the
test.
lights are on.
That's
Lights are
right.
on only for a certain amount of time. When those
Mm-hmm.
lights go off, who are you really? And
Right.
I feel like that's so important. And speaking of important growths and walks of life and things like that, I feel like something a lot of people misunderstand is parenthood and
Mm.
fatherhood more specifically. And you speak very highly of your beautiful family. Tell me, like, what is some advice that you wish someone gave you when you first became a dad?
Man. Um, man. The first piece of advice I would say that I wish someone told me is that being a father doesn't stop at 18. It doesn't stop at 18.
So true.
I've encountered more of an emotional struggle when my kids were of age of accountability than when they were as babies.
Mm,
It, it's something about a 17-year-old kid who has all the talent in the world but doesn't exercise it for whatever reason, and they can't give you an answer better than I don't feel like it.
mm,
You don't understand how that how that literally like
mm,
takes a knife and puts it right in my heart.
mm,
Like the emotional ties that I think I have now rather, with my boys now who are 17 and 19. It's so much more emotionally connected than
mhm.
it was when they were babies. And I just, even in my book, when we get a chance to get around to the book I
For
just
sure.
wrote, in my dedication, I dedicated my book to my two sons. And the only line that it says underneath it is that I just want you to be better than me.
Man.
That's the line. This book is dedicated to James and Jaden. I just want you to be better than me. It's so heartbreaking sometimes to see when your kids fall, but it's even worse when they're adults and you can't stop them from falling.
Oof.
Like
Mm,
that is like the hardest pain for me. There was an event that took place. I'm not gonna put him on blast because he's definitely gonna watch this. But he did something. My oldest son. For weeks, I was broken. I was driving to church to preach, and I was not into it. Like for the first time, and I'm pretty sure many times it happened again, where my personal life entered the church with me, and like my whole mood was off. It
mm,
was to the point where I had to ask my wife. I said, "Yo, you think something's wrong with me? Like I'm broken. Like I think I'm broken from what happened." And it bothered me for weeks. It wasn't until we had a long conversation on a Saturday afternoon and we finally got out all the information that I finally was able to be my regular self again. But man, I had an attitude all over this place. Nobody wanted to be around me. I would call him, he don't answer the phone. I'm sending text messages, no responses. And the emotional detachment, it was almost like a parent had died or a relative had died because I couldn't figure out what the emotional detachment was about.
yeah.
And they're old enough to not have to tell you. Like they're old
Mm,
enough to not have to pick up the phone and call you just because you call them. 19 years old, living
ah,
on your own, doing what you want to do. And sometimes you just gotta wait. And I thought that was the Lord's exercise for me. After this whole blew over, I realized that I just need to learn how to wait.
mm,
Maybe my anxiety took over, maybe my anxiousness took over, but I was not trying to have it. When I
yeah.
call you, you answer. But then I
Mm,
was like, wait a minute, that was when they were 7, 12, 13, 15. They're now adults or segueing into adulthood. They
mm,
don't have, and I don't have that type of power, I guess, over them to do what I want them to do. So if anybody would have given me any advice, I wish they would have gave me that, because maybe I would have saved some of my or spread my emotions out while they were growing up. Because it's so hard to watch them fall, and you know that you can't do nothing to buffer that fall. You can talk
Oh,
to them all you want, but if they don't accept it and they do what they want, you pretty much has to like get that that's where they're going
yeah,
and just pray that they
absolutely.
make it out, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, it's man, that was so there was so much in that answer that we
Hmm.
are definitely going to unpack. Their number one is preventing them from falling.
Hmm.
I spoke about this in another episode of podcast. My daughter loves going outside. She loves
Hmm.
going outside. My daughter, she just turned 2. She loves going outside. Well, there was one particular time where my wife was at work. I'm at home, and my
Hmm.
daughter's like, oh, like I want to go outside. I want to go outside. Now, well, first I promoted going outside because she was tired and it wasn't time for her to go to bed yet. So I'm like, yo,
Right.
let's go outside. Let's go for a walk. Saying, she's like, oh, outside, outside. So like we're going outside or whatever, and she's dead tired, but she's excited to go outside.
Right, right, right.
She's running outside, and like she's playing or whatever, and I'm like, all right, baby, slow down.
Hmm.
All right, all right, baby, slow down, slow down.
Right.
Boom, face hit the ground. It broke my heart.
Oh
But
my.
and like and I had this feeling about wanting to, from that moment, wanting to protect her from falling ever again.
Hmm.
But I learned from my parents, I learned from, my wife, and just from that situation alone, is that sometimes you have to allow them to fall. And
Right.
then that turned into what I feel like was a whole lesson that I felt like God was trying to teach me from that moment, even to
Hmm.
present day, is that sometimes God will allow you to fall in order for you to realize either where you're headed or
Hmm.
realize the situation that you were once in. Because He will never let you fall too far, but He'll
Right.
let you fall just enough for you to realize, or trip just enough for you to realize, like, hey, you still need me. All right.
Right.
Like we still need to be locked in,
Hmm.
so I feel like, and I can only imagine, like that's like my daughter's my everything. So I can
Right.
only imagine the type of emotion, the type of feeling comes with, as your child gets of age, and
Hmm.
they don't want to speak to you anymore. They don't want to do this
Mm.
anymore. And like I have to lead from the front. I have to lead from the front. My father and I don't think we ever really truly had a good relationship.
Hmm.
And like I know in the Bible it says, harden not your heart.
Right.
Because when you harden your heart, you don't leave room for God to correct you. You don't
Hmm.
leave room for God to bless you. You don't leave room to really truly enjoy life, because
Right.
life is a gift. Despite
Yep.
all the ups and downs that God is going to put us through, ultimately life is a gift. And when you
Right.
harden your heart, you leave no room for there to be growth. You leave no room for there to be grace. You don't leave room for anything.
Hmm.
And God forbid, it's your last day and you still had
Right.
hatred on your heart.
Man.
And so although while my dad and I don't have my biological dad, at least, like we don't have like the best relationship, I
Hmm.
try my best to still love him when and while I can,
Yes.
because I know if he leaves tomorrow, despite us, having, the relationship that we have, I know if he leaves tomorrow, it's still going to break me, because,
Yeah.
well, I don't want to say break me, but it's still going to hurt, because that's still my biological dad.
Yeah.
Even if we've had ups and downs and everything like that, even if he may not have shown up for this and he may not have it at the end of the day, I'm a dad now.
Right.
So as a dad, I need to be able to show my daughter, this, like, despite ups and downs and everything like that, you still lead with love.
Hmm.
That's what Jesus did.
Right.
And I like, especially like now, like I'm definitely, I feel like since I became a dad in 23, I have really been devoted to really trying to make sure that I show her how to be a good leader. And the
Right.
best leader I know is Jesus Christ himself.
Right.
And like through my own growth and through my own Christian journey, like I've learned, and I've, gathered that, like, you can't, I don't know, like me personally, I feel like you cannot claim to be something and you don't walk in that same light.
Yeah.
Like, I can't call myself an Olympian and I don't work out, or I don't
Right.
religiously, like, commit myself to said sport or said skill that I say I'm an Olympian for. And I
Right.
can't call myself a basketball player if I only play basketball 2 days out of the
Right.
seven that we're given. It's just certain things that you just can't do. And so I feel like in order to be a good leader and a good father, I feel like I have to. Now, I'm not going to be perfect. I'm going to mess up, most
Of
definitely.
course.
I have messed up, most
Right.
definitely, but like I feel like in order to be the best role model that I can for her, I just have to make sure that I try my best, and that's all we can do is try to
Right.
emulate and do what Christ did for us, and that's lead with love. That's lead from the front, and that's in a way be patient,
Right.
and maybe that was just a lesson that God was trying to teach you during that moment.
Definitely.
And speaking of lessons, what would you say was a hard lesson that you had to learn later that became a key factor in a major achievement?
My goodness. Well, first, let me give a testimony to what you said earlier. December 23rd will be 25 years since my father passed away. Me and my
Sorry.
father did not have a good relationship. And I mean, to the point where it was very cantankerous. I mean, I cursed at my father. And it was only one word, though. But I never thought in a billion years that I would ever say a curse word to my father. If anybody knows me and knows my family, it was yes, Poppy, no, Poppy. Repeat that, Poppy. I didn't understand that, Poppy. It was never, ever outside of any name other than Poppy. But when my father passed away, that's been, for lack of a better phrase, a thorn in my side. I can't stop thinking about it. Every Christmas that comes, I think about it. It messes up my mood, my attitude. So, what you just said in terms of making sure that you love your father in spite of, in most cases, sometimes it's in spite of what it is we believe or assume of our father, is the best advice you can give anybody. I tell people this all the time: when your mother and father's gone, they're gone.
Yeah.
They don't come back. You may see images of them, you may reminisce about them, but you'll never be able to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, ma, how you doing?" My pops died in 2000. My mother died in 2010. So I don't have any parents. So they'll never see me graduate with my double masters in a couple of months.
Mm.
They'll never see my daughters get married. They'll never see my sons get married or graduate from college. That's it.
Yeah.
So, whatever time you have with your parents, you need to honor that. And whatever issues you're dealing with, it's not bigger than the grave.
Mm.
So, I just wanted to throw that out there. And I appreciate your words of wisdom because somebody who's going to listen to this needs to hear that.
For sure.
Somebody that's going to listen to your podcast has been dealing with issues with their mom or their father, and they need to hear somebody tell them that once they die, that's it. You don't get a
Yeah.
second chance. Well, we get a second chance later on, much later in life, but by that time, you won't even know why you're arguing with the person. When that person's
Exactly.
gone, there's no more advice. There's no more, hey, I wish my dad could say that, I'm proud of you for what it is you've done. Once they're gone, that's it.
Yeah.
So take full advantage and honor them while they're still here. So I appreciate what you said. One of the hardest lessons, getting back to the question, I'm going to be honest with you, and this might sound a lot spiritual, but it was running from God. I ran from God for a long time. And when I tell you I ran, I ran. It was to the point where I was stricken. I don't know, we don't believe in that stuff now because we think that God is a good God. But I had a skin disease all over my hands, my feet, my arms, up my leg. It was little small circles. And when you pop open the circle, there was like a small piece of skin on the inside. It didn't hurt, but I can literally almost peel my skin off my hand like a glove. And the next day, it would be back to the way it was before. I went to two different skin doctors, and both of them said, I've never seen anything like this before. My mother dies in 2010. I get into a car accident. Later on, I go to the doctor because I'm realizing that for some reason, like I'm like shaking all the time. The doctor says, "Put your hands out." I put my hands out, and I'm shaking like a leaf.
Mm.
I said, "They're just like, well, you have Graves' disease." I said, "What? Does that mean I'm gonna die? Like, what do you mean Graves' disease? Do you have Graves' disease? It's named after the person who founded the disease, Graves, but it just means that you have a hypothyroid problem." I said, "So what's going to happen?" "Well, you're going to find that you're going to lose weight very rapidly." I'm a big guy. Camera can't tell. Thank God for the camera. But I'm a big dude. I'm probably about at the time when he told me that I was probably like 330, 6 foot one. I'm a big
Mm.
dude. I lost about 100 and something pounds in like less than 6 months.
Wow.
It was to the point where skin was hanging off my body. Like I can tuck my stomach into my pants.
Oh
My
wow.
face sunk in. My eyeballs popped out. It was
Uh,
absolutely ridiculous. Then I found out that the same disease that Missy had, Graves' disease, Missy Elliott, the singer,
yeah,
we
yeah.
have the same thing. The only difference was is that the suggestion was I take a radioactive pill, which would destroy my thyroid, and I would have to take a pill every day for the rest of my life, or I can go through surgery. I said, "Oh well, I'll come back to you, doc." I never went back to the office. To
Mm.
this day, they're probably still looking for me. Never went back there. I asked God one day to get rid of this, and He did. I
Oh
don't
my
have Graves'
God.
disease anymore. I've gained the weight back, but it gets even worse. That's the victory on the end. Let me keep back with the hardship. Then I wound up getting a divorce from my wife.
Mm.
My kids now have to live in New York while I have to figure out a place to stay. Living in New York, you need money on top of money just to get a single bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
Then I got into a lot of female trouble. Then I wound up losing my job. Then I wound up having friends turn their back on me. And one day God came to me and said, "Are you going to follow me now?
Mm.
Or do you want to stay where you are?" And when I looked around at the stuff that I had around me, when I looked around at my life and realized where I was going, I said, "God, if I follow you, you got to lead the way."
Mm.
Because it's easy for us to be like, "I'll follow you wherever you want to go," but they
Yeah.
want to make the plans. They want to create where they
Yeah.
go. They got to create the pathway, the method, the mode, and everything. I said, "God, if you're gonna do it, you got to lead the way." There was a school I wanted to go to. He said, "Check it out." I checked out the school. They only had a 2-year program. I said, "I'm not going to a school for 2 years. My sons need me." 6 months later, he told me, "Go check back again." Same program was now a 4-year program.
Mm.
He said, "You're gonna go." I said, "I'm gonna go." I said, "If I go, I cannot pay for anything in school. If you don't make this happen, I'm going to tell everybody I know that God does not exist. I know because I tried.
Wow.
He doesn't exist." Fast forward, long story short, I got a job being a teacher. And in order for me to stay with that job, I needed my transcript. I owed money at the college that I was going to. And they said, "Well, how much is the money that you owe?" I said, "About $8,000. They
Mm.
hung up the phone, called me back in like half hour. They said, "Tell us who we got to send a check to."
Wow.
My organization that I'm a part of paid $8,000 for me to get a transcript to where to keep my job. But before that blessing, and just before I decided to go to school, all of that hardship that took place was nothing more than God's hand on me.
There you go.
And I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna pass it back to you.
Mm.
When you read the story of Job, a lot of people get excited about the fact that he went through all this trouble and he got double his problem. I mean, double what he lost. And he was able to gain everything back. And that is very true. But do you know that when God puts you through something, that he's betting on you to not fail him?
Have you tried? Have
Yeah.
you considered my faithful servant?
When God asked Satan that question, Satan gave him a reasonable answer. He serves you because you
You protected him.
protected him. Look at all the stuff that you gave him and the health and his children and everything else. He's like, "Well, all right, so let's see. All right, I'll take the hedge from him and you can take whatever you want, but you can't touch him."
Mm.
Copy. He goes down to earth.
Yeah.
He takes everything.
Consecutively.
Clothes off. He goes back into prayer. He says, "Yo, naked I came into the world, naked I'm going to go back. Blessed be the name of the Lord."
Yep.
That means even through your problems, God still is worthy of praise.
Mm.
He goes
Mm.
back, sends a report. He says, "Hey, yo, God, like I did what you told me to do, but I get what you was trying to do." So he serves you. So what? The only reason why he serves you is because you didn't protect his stuff. You protect him. That's why he's going to serve you. God says, man, that's a tough one. Well, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. You can do whatever you want to do to him, but you can't take his life.
Yep, can't kill him.
And Satan says, say less.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm back in that thing again like I
Yeah.
never left. Touch that man's body. And instead of him cursing God, the thing that he did the most was pray. I'm trying not to get too excited and hit my
No,
table
you
because I don't
good.
want
You
to debate. I
good.
am a preacher at heart, but I know how to compartmentalize.
Yeah.
But yo, it was during those moments of my life that I realized that I need to pray more. I need to ask God for guidance, for leadership. Like I'm doing things the wrong way. And I know I am. But God is still giving me the breath to do these negative things to myself. Not just to others, but to myself. And God's like, yo, you'll come around in time. In time, you'll come around. And then it was to a point where God, because God has a limit. I don't think
Right.
we understand this. God has a limit. And it was to a limit to the point where God will literally, no angel, Jesus don't have to come down, Holy Spirit ain't going to speak to you. God himself is going to come down and say, how much longer you want to go like this? Because see, I can go for eternity. Can you? I'm waiting for you to make up your decision on whether or not you're going to follow this train where I'm going, or it's going to be a hard climb up this hill for the rest of your life.
Right.
And it wasn't until I said yes that I realized, and of course, this is 2020 is always hindsight. It's not until
Yeah.
after these problems have passed, and now I got the rewards and the benefit of the double blessing, that I realized that he was setting me up to be right where I am right now. And I was the one dragging it out, not God. I was the one that was dragging out the blessing. I was the one that was dragging out the moments in time when I could have been celebrating in my 20s and my mid 30s. I'm busy trying to figure out who I am because I wasn't willing to give what I needed to give to God. And like I said, God will give you the breath to do what you want to do because he's a sovereign God. He's not a respecter of person. He's going to give you the sun shines and the rain falls on the just and the unjust. Blessings still fall on the just and the unjust. He has promised that he will bless everyone on this planet. But the real question is, when you follow him, just like how you follow your father, there's good gifts that your father will give you.
Yeah.
And just as a father on earth will give good gifts to his children, more than that, your heavenly father will give you as his child. So you can live a regular life if you want to, or you can live the life that God promised for you, which is blessings on top of blessings. It's up to you.
Right. Powerful, especially how you tied it in with the book of Job. Man, I don't think people really understand how that actually worked. Imagine you're sitting at home and someone comes to you and lets you know consecutively that you have lost everything. You don't get a chance to breathe. Another
Jesus.
thing lost. Your children gone. Your house gone. Your cattle's gone. Like everything. Everything is gone. You don't have a second to like really just sit. Job had abundantly so many things and lived so humbly, but
Right.
he had so many things. And just imagine you losing it all back to back to back to back. God doesn't like a lot of people feel like, you know, God just has to trust us with blessings. No, God has to trust you to be able to struggle. God has to trust you to be able to go through the fire. Can I trust you to be able to go through this heat?
Right.
Can I trust you to survive the flame and come out and still praise my name? And still let people know that although you had to go through this fire, you didn't burn. But on top of that, what ended up coming out, what ended up what you how you went in is not the same way that you went out. Can I trust you to be able to do that? You know what I'm saying? Like it's not just, oh Lord, trust me to be able to have this, that, and the other. Can I trust you to
Right.
be able to let people know that even when things get hard, I got your back. can you trust? Like I remember just recently I just got out of the military,
Mm.
and man, when I got out, at like I was so happy. I was so like I had just got my degree. I'm going for my master's, all this other kind of stuff, and this that and the other, blah 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 blah. And like I'm like, oh man, like God is being so. And then I get out, and like this is the most time to myself I have had in a very 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 long time. And it's like my grandmother told me, and like my mother told me, idle time is a devil's playground.
Yeah.
I truly believe time itself is a blessing, but when you
Yes.
don't know how to use it, that's when the devil comes in and he can mess everything up. And I
That's
feel
right.
like emotionally and mentally is where I became most abusive to myself.
Mm.
And it was very, 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 very hard to get out of that.
Right.
And I feel as though, but through that though, I read my word, and it
Mm.
said when you feel far from God, and I'm a paraphrase here, but when you feel far from God, run back to Him
That's
with
right.
prayer and with fasting and with
Mm-hmm.
repentance. And I did just that. I prayed and I fasted and I
Mm-hmm.
repented. And the amount of blessings that came in consecutively after I committed that, because at that moment, like I really felt like I had just lost.
Yeah.
I really felt like I'm a dad. I live in Virginia. I live in Virginia, close to DC area. Like my family's back in Florida. Like my hometown family's back in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go back to Florida. It looks like I'm finna have to go back there. Nobody's hiring me. All this other kind
Mm-hmm.
of stuff. And God showed up and showed
Yeah.
out. And all I did was fast, pray, and repent. But I meant it though. It wasn't just
Yeah.
like no patty cake. This no, like I was literally there was nothing else that I could do. Same situation in the sense of like, are you going to listen to me now?
Right.
Are you going to trust me now? You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like you done tried yourself, and like you done drunk your Kool-Aid and put a little sugar in it. It tastes good, don't it? Yeah, I bet. Now watch it all run out.
Right.
You have no water, nothing to replenish yourself back in,
Right.
because you detached yourself from the source that was blessing you to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I was over here smelling myself like, oh yeah, I'm all that in a bag of chips.
Right.
Eventually that bag gonna run out of chips. So if me it ran out, and so like, but the way God showed up for my life, man, and it was so powerful, it was so meaningful, and
Mm-hmm.
it was from moments like that that I was able to really grab and really just really lean on the fact that there is no me without him. There
Right.
is no success. There is no podcast. There is no, like, at that moment when I came on the other side of that. That's when I really, really realized, and I really digested truly, all of this means nothing. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like I won a $20,000 scholarship. Now I don't come from
Mm.
money, but $20,000 to me is
That's a
that that's
whole
that's
lot of money.
truly that's a whole lot of money. You know what I'm
That's right.
saying? And so like, and I that was the day after I fasted. My account is in the
Wow.
negatives. I owe people money. Rent is due on the first. And I was praying to
Wow.
God. I'm like, God, I prayed before I got out. You
Right.
told me, like I felt it. You told me I was going to be okay.
Mhm.
Why am I now struggling? And the audacity we have to question the same one who gives us
Oh man.
every single breath is insane to me.
Oh man.
The audacity we have, but I sat there and I prayed and I cried and I cried and I prayed. And the very next day after I was done fasting, and I like the whole day, just
Mm-hmm.
didn't eat, really didn't have an appetite, but whole day just didn't eat. All I did
Right.
when I got hungry, I read my word. I got in my word, and I really isolated myself to that. I was
Mm-hmm.
only dependent on God. I only listened to the words that he had for me to listen to. I didn't worry
Mm-hmm.
about secular music and this, that, and the other. I didn't care about no TV. I didn't care about any of that. When you really,
Right.
truly just lean in and truly just want to listen to what he has for you,
Mm-hmm.
everything else will fall into place,
That's
because
right.
that's when you're in position to allow him to be a father. You can't call him father. You can't do that if you're not willing to let him correct you when you're
Right.
wrong. You know what I'm saying? So that amazing, 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 amazing word. Making the transition real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we are now walking into questions from the fire pit. All right, this is where we have rapid fire, no pun intended, but rapid fire questions back to back. You know, you just once you hear the question, you answer it about as fast as you can, and then from there, we'll go ahead and we'll proceed going further. All right, so question number one: coffee or tea?
T.
Tea. I agree. I agree. All right, so next question: morning prayer or late night reflection?
Late night reflection.
All right, all right. All right, so what is one verse that never fails to strengthen you?
Oh, he that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. First John 4:9.
Oh, so that's John right there. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
He that loveth
Um,
not knoweth not God.
yes, sir. All right. So, a song that instantly lifts your spirit. What is it?
My gosh. Oh man. These are great rapid fire questions. And I was waiting for it to come to my head too.
It could be some
Colorful
cookout tunes too. You know.
Colorful Way by Sophie. Is an artist that nobody really knows about, but if you like K Jewelers, her song was in the commercial for K Jewelers.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
Yeah, Colorful Way.
If you could go back and give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be? Any stage of life now. Any
Oh
stage
my
of life.
gosh.
If you could give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be?
Though you may not understand yourself, be yourself.
That was a loaded question, but that was an amazing answer. That was an amazing. I was expecting that to need some time, but that was an amazing answer. That was on
Yeah.
point. On
Yeah.
point. What does surviving the flame mean to you personally? Just the quote, surviving the flame. What does that mean to you?
It means coming out with scars. It means coming out with things that will remind you of why you were selected. I think we look at scars in a way of showing the negative side of our lives, but scars actually show that we're still alive. Scars actually give us a remembrance of a moment. It's no different than when the Israelites came over the Jordan River with Joshua and God said, no, get some stones from in the middle of the river. Set those stones up so that way as the generations come, they'll be reminded that they had to walk through a river that
Yeah.
is
Oh
supposed
my
to
God.
be full enough that you can't get these rocks. And
That is.
I think sometimes we look at our scars and say, "Man, that was a big screw up," but our scars actually detail and define our growth. And in a lot of ways, it makes us more beautiful, if that even makes sense.
Absolutely.
Man, can I keep going?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, in Japanese culture, I forgot what the name of it is called, but I studied it for a sermon, and I can't know why I can't remember the name of it now. But they would take broken dishes and they would put it back together again. Like they would literally take each piece of the dish or a cup or whatever it is that you broke, and they would put it back together again, and they would add gold to the inside of the crack. And as the gold is hardening, as the plate is coming back together again, the plate or the cup or whatever it is that you presented to them actually looks 10 times better than what it looked like when you
Wow.
first purchased it, which gives us the idea or gives people the idea that just because you're broken don't mean you can't be beautiful. You can still be beautiful and be broken at the same time. And I think surviving the flame is exactly that. You may get a scar here and there, but it actually accentuates your beauty and why God trusts you versus why you think he does not trust you and you were being punished.
That is amazing. That is truly amazing. All right. Last question from the fire pit. Finish this sentence. Faith is.
Everything to me. Everything to me. Without faith, there's just no way we can live on this earth.
Amen to that.
No way.
Amen to
I
that.
mean, listen, well, quick story. When I lost my mother, the first thing I said to God is, this can't be all there is. Like this world, this life can't just be all there is. There has to be a heaven. With all the pain that you deal with, all the anger, the anguish, the frustration, the depression, the shame, the guilt, the anxiety, with the financial hardships, with all the things that we have to deal with being a black man in America, all the things we have to deal with as a human being on this planet, I have to believe, I have to have faith to know that this is not the end. So it's everything to me.
That's right. That's right. That's so true. Like I know after losing after losing my friend, I felt a similar pain in a sense
Mm,
of, you know, like, and I spiraled out after that one. That was like we basically like grew up together, and
mm,
losing and just to lose her to COVID, you know, like something that like I
mm.
no one saw coming. It
Right.
came out of nowhere. The death came out of nowhere, and it kind of left like a sour spot in me because I was that was a spot in my life where I was really questioning God a lot.
Mhm.
But once again, like I'm so glad that we serve a God that is patient,
Yeah.
you know, and that can take our anger. I'm so
Hmm.
glad that we serve a God that understands our pain
Right.
because he lost as well. You know, like
Exactly.
he lost his best friends. You know, he had to witness John the Baptist, you know, get his
Hmm.
head cut off, you
That's
know,
right.
and God himself, he Jesus being his only begotten son,
Right.
died. You know what I'm saying? So he understands grief.
Hmm.
He understands loss and things of like
Yeah.
that. So I'm so glad that he was patient enough with me to
Yeah.
teach me in a way that I would understand. And I'm so glad that
Mm.
while she lives in and through me forever, I'm so
Right.
glad that my heart was open enough to be able to
Hmm.
receive that. And
Definitely.
be able to move and prosper forward, man. So thank you so much just for the communication and the lessons and
Of
everything like
course.
that. And speaking of lessons, you know, as we get closer to the end of this, you have a book of lessons, you know, and I want to tap into that. Like, how did the idea of wanting to create a book, how did that come about? What are some things about the book that you want people to know? Like what tell us about the book and tell us about the idea and how it came about.
Definitely. Well, I was doing a revival this year. It was going to be a 2 week revival, and it was going to be 10 days of me preaching. And I'm the kind of person where honestly, I try not to look for titles or try not to look for things or whatever that are the most common or the most popular. I really want to wait for God to tell me. And one Saturday morning, I woke up and I heard God say, "Living to live again."
Mm.
And I said, that's going to be the name of the revival. And I literally, in my bed, in like 15 minutes, I made up a flyer, Living to Live Again, and I sent it out to B. I call him Nielsen. I sent it out to B. I sent it out to some other friends of mine or whatever, and I sent it over to one of the secretaries at the church that I was looking to combine with, my church and their church. And we wound up doing a 2 week revival, Living to Live Again. I thought it was extremely successful. We had great turnouts every single night. The only nights we didn't have service was Tuesday and Thursday. So we were there every single week except for Tuesday and Thursday. And we were able to get a church that was not our church. And the pastor that gave us a church at Richland Baptist Church, they didn't even charge us.
Oh wow.
We truly believe that this was a move of God. And one of my pastors who were there at the time, he's an elder now. Well, he's still an elder. He gave me an idea. He said, "Listen, you're writing all these sermons." I said, "Yeah." I'm gonna write them and preach them. He's like, "You preaching all the days?" I said, "Yeah, I'm preaching every day." One of the preachers said that if the God gave you the vision, then you got to lead it out.
There you go.
And I was like, all right, well, then I'm gonna have to do it. So I wrote all the sermons and I did everything. He was like, man, listen, like, that it looks like you wrote a book. I said, yeah, man. He's like, that's what you should do. Like, you should take your sermons and you should put it into a book or, make it something where people can read it or maybe like a devotional. And I said, a
Mm.
devotional? Yeah, I like that idea.
Mm.
So I took my sermons, I put them together, and I came up with Living to Live Again, the devotional. The book is here, it's out. It's on my back wall too. But
For sure,
Living
for
to Live
sure.
Again is 10 sermons of really that were converted into easier reading. It doesn't look like a sermon. And if you're really good and real spiritual and real preachy like, you could take any one of these and make it a sermon. Just some of the titles is Promise Keeper, The Word in Flesh, Faith is the Victory, Stay Connected, My Favorite, There is a Name, True Worship, Law of Compassion, I didn't realize that compassion and kindness are two different things. You'll learn that and understand that in that devotion. And of course, the last one is living to live again. I think it's going to be something that's going to definitely touch the world. I think a lot of people are going to grow from this book. I think spiritually, this is for those who don't understand the Bible to those who very much understand the Bible. It's littered with enough references from the Bible for you to go back and do your own reading and your own self study. I don't like devotions that are super long, so it's less than 700 words each chapter or each devotion. It also comes with some reflective questions, which is what I love. And it also comes with a prayer that you can pray after the devotion is over. If you were going to work and you had to do a devotion and you parked your car and you got 3.5 minutes, you can read it. It's not going to take you that long. And it's one of those devotions where you're not just going to read through it. You're going to read it and it's going to stay on you. I pray that when people read the devotion, anyone that they read for any particular day, that it stays on you like good meat and potatoes, like it
There you
sticks
go.
to your ribs. So, it's out now. You can get it on Amazon for $25, or if you want, you can order it through me. And of course, I'll leave my information. You can either Cash App or you
Absolutely.
can Zelle me or whatever, and then you'll get it for $20, and then I'll send it to you. That'll cover everything, shipping and everything else. That was just on my recent book, and then of course I have another book that I wrote for young men called 25 Rules of Becoming a Man. This book was put together pretty much through my son. As I spoke earlier, me and my son, because me and his mom were divorced, I would come and pick him up and my younger son and take them to school. And every day that I would take them to school, we would come up with what's called a man rule. And one of
Mm,
the man rules, make sure you hold the door, for someone. Make sure you say thank you. Make sure you say excuse me. Things like, always remember to go to the doctor. Don't forget an appointment. Or, pick up a hobby. Find something to do with your time instead of just allowing time to take care of you. Always be nice to people. Never burn bridges because you never know when you have to cross back over. I came up with 100 of them. And I broke it down to a friend of mine to see whether or not he would be willing to do it. And he was like, listen, they're not going to read 100. They may read maybe 20, 25. So I did 25. So the first edition of 25 Rules of Becoming a Man, that's also on Amazon. You can get that as well if you're so moved to get it. It's a great book for men, especially young men, those who are going into manhood, and those who are men who are struggling with their identity, trying to figure out what to do, where to go, and really need to find ways to kind of piece themselves together. This is a great book to do that. It's one page per rule, so it's only 25 pages. And then, of course, it allows you to be able to really kick back and actually think these things through. It's more than just reading through to get it as a particular knowledge, but it's like, man, I didn't think about that. Let me try that. Let me attempt that. Let me do
right.
that myself and see if it works for me. So those are the different things that I think, and I believe God gave me this information to give to the world because I believe that He has given me something that I didn't even know I had, which is the ability to lead and give good advice.
There you
A
go.
lot of people think that that's easy to come by. I can just talk to anybody and get good advice. You can't. You can't.
Hmm.
There's certain people that you can. That's why we have therapists
Right.
because there's certain people you can talk to and they can give you real results, and then there's others who are going to talk to you and just want to hear what you got going on. And as long
Mm,
as you're worse than them, they'll continue being your friend. The moment you step up and you start moving on your own, all of a sudden they don't really want anything to do with you. But you
right.
need to find people who do the job or the gift that they were called to do. And I believe my gift was really to give a message of healing, hope, inspiration to the world. And I just hope that I'm able to do it through these mediums.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is amazing, man. Y'all go over here and make your way down to Amazon, man, and make sure you get that book for 25 as well. As we start to close up here, I got at least one more question for you.
Sure.
And that is, how do you hope your legacy as a man, as a pastor, and as a father will inspire those who come after you?
Wow. I really hope that I'm able to inspire people to believe that God loves them. We really truly live in a world where people don't believe unless something's happening.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of times when God won't move, and it's not because he can't move, it's because you don't see the movement.
Yeah.
It's not that he's not moving, it's because we're not following what God is doing. And even in spite of us turning our backs, even in spite of us doing what it is that we want to do, God still remains loving and kind and gracious and long suffering and forgiving. And that's so critical for me to be able to convey that message, because believe it or not, we have a lot of people in this world that will never read a Bible, that will never come to a church, that will never hear a pastor, because they believe that God hates them,
Mm.
that God doesn't want anything to do with them. We have a lot of people in this world that believe that the reason why their grandmother died or their uncle died or their brother died is because of the lifestyle that they were living, not knowing
Mm.
that that man and that woman is responsible to God, not you.
Oh, yep.
You have your own responses to God. And that's important that we understand that God loves you. He really does love you. And if you think about it, if he didn't love you, you wouldn't be here.
Fact.
I like to say this to
Facts.
people all the time. The only people that can go to heaven are the people that were born.
Yeah. There you go. There you
The
go.
reason why you're born is not because, or I should say, not only because you have a purpose, not only because you have a desire to be here and be seen and be known because the world needs you, but God is looking for to see you one day in heaven. He's
Mm.
looking for you. He's planned for you. He's prepared a house for you. He wants to see you one day at the welcome table. He wants to lay out the red carpet for you. He wants to see you do well. He wants your soul to prosper as your human body prospers. He sees so many things for you that it's almost unbelievable why we don't believe it to be true. But I want to be able to be a voice. I want to be a call out to the wild that God loves you. He really does love you. And
There
he
you go.
cares about you. He wants to see you succeed and see you prosper. And though nobody may want you to be successful, God wants you to be successful. So if I were to ever leave behind a legacy and people say, man, what did he stand for? Man, he stood for love. He believed that God loved everybody.
There you go. Amen to that one. Amen to that one.
Yeah.
Well, Pastor Thomas, it's been an honor, man. It's truly been
Oh
an
man,
honor to
thank you, man, and thank you for your service, man. I
thank you,
appreciate
man.
what you
Thank
do
you.
for us as a country, and we needed you on the battlefield, so I appreciate that.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. Pastor Thomas, again, it's been an honor. It's been an honor to be able to interview you and help tell your story and share this
Same.
flame with you tonight. To hear your story, your strength, and your faith, man. Like in your journey and just how it reminds all of us that while walking with God isn't always easy, it is
Mm-hmm.
always worth it. So thank you
Yeah.
again for pouring into us and for helping us light a path for those still trying to find their way through their dark times. You know what I'm
Definitely.
saying? This podcast, I believe, is going to touch a lot of people. Your
Yeah.
book, both of them, are going to touch a lot of people and help align their path with where
Mm-hmm.
God is trying to lead them. And who knows? Like maybe we'll end up getting some baptisms through here. Maybe we'll end up getting
Yeah.
getting some renewed faiths through here. Maybe we'll end up,
Yeah.
whatever it takes, just to be able to have God's people return back to him.
Yeah.
So thank you again so very much. And for those of you who are listening, you know what I'm saying, please, 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 if you are curious, if you are looking for guidance, there are resources out here, whether it be the local church, whether it be a mentor, a pastor, a minister, whoever it is. Find yourself, if you're curious, try just give it a chance. Just try. You know what I'm saying? And you'll see exactly how God can fully change your life. You know what I'm saying? So I'm closing with today's quote, which is, faith isn't built in comfort, it's built in the fire. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast today. If you're listening right now, go ahead and share. If you're liking this, go ahead and share it with a broke best friend or a rich family member. And as always, man, it's been love. As always, spread kindness, spread peace, and grind for what's already yours. All right, y'all. This is Surviving the Flame. Thank you. Thank you all so much for the support and always tuning into your favorite podcast geared towards helping people through tough times with tough conversations. Thank you all. And as always, spread kindness. This is Surviving the Flame. See you next time.